Greetings, everyone. This is going to be a quick overlook on the macro view of the altcoin market. We're going to start off with total 3, which is all the altcoins excluding Bitcoin and Ethereum. We're going to talk a little bit about our cycle theory, which is the 1064-day bottom to top cycle. If you check out my last Bitcoin video, I briefly touch on it. It's basically a projected end date of October 2025. So all of our Elliott wave scenarios, theories, and counts are factoring in that we have 1 year left in the cycle, which will be the most explosive, commonly known as blow off top, final leg, altcoin mania, euphoria, any name you want to give it. We're heading into that phase of the cycle. So taking a look at total 3 on the weekly, from this low we have a classic impulse, a 5-wave move, creating our initial wave 1, which has brought us down to complete our wave 2, reaching the 0.5 Fibonacci level, which is a common target for a wave 2. It is less common for a wave 4, which, if I briefly touch on Bitcoin here, I have us in a double 1-2 scenario rather than a classic impulse with a very long extended wave 5. Part of that is because the length and deepness of our correction here, which is also apparent on total 3, it did reach the 0.5 Fibonacci level, which is more common for a wave 2 than a wave 4, though a wave 4 it can still hit the 0.5. Either way, nobody knows for sure if it is a wave 4 or a wave 2 on Bitcoin. We just know that we are heading higher. And for total 3 for the altcoins, it is a much clearer picture. This is an obvious one too. We don't have to think about it being a wave 4, which, as crazy as it seems, the minimum projected target for our wave 3 that is occurring, we're in the initial stages of it, is $2.3 trillion market cap. Now, from a general outlook, what this whole cycle would look like is something like this, finishing right around this time next year. A classic larger 5-wave impulse. Now, this is the highest probability scenario that I can think of, and nothing else makes as much sense, so I'm not going to show anything else because I do not believe it has any relevance until this scenario would break down, which probabilities are not high at the moment, and every day they are increasing in favor for this to play out. Now, in terms of time and classic impulsivity, a classic 5-wave move to complete the cycle looks the most ideal. If we come down onto the daily, the same thing we have going on here is going on with Bitcoin. We're most likely looking for our final 5th wave in this contracting diagonal scenario off the lows, again to complete a larger wave 1 from which we could pull back and create our initial 1-2. From there, whatever this scenario ends up being, a zigzag, a flat, some type of corrective pullback pattern, we will begin our propelling nature of our third wave within our third wave, which will be the most explosive phase of the bull run. Now again, as mentioned on Bitcoin, which is even more clear on this chart, this looks to be an obvious three-wave move. Rather than a double 1-2 scenario, your wave 1 would have to be this, and an expanded flat in your wave 2. Which, going off time proportion, it doesn't look as nice. This looks best as a series of three-wave moves which the wave 4 either ending here or here, and we are heading for that final fifth wave, most likely having to take out this top here at 650 billion on the total 3 market cap. I believe after this occurs, we will have a final pullback. And if you notice this channel I have here, we have broken out and back tested it and are continued to moving higher. Potentially after we complete this fifth wave on the local time frame, we see a zigzag back to test the channel once more before fully moving out of it. Let's zoom way out onto the monthly. If we look at the candles on a monthly perspective, we successfully back tested this previous area of consolidation, and we hit key Fibonacci retracement levels. Of this entire range up here, the point of control is sitting at around 640 billion. We're tapping into it and testing it now. As you can see, back at our previous bull market high range, this was a fairly clear support and resistance level. So as soon as we fully clear that and back test it, or move strongly above it, we can expect the final phase to be fully underway. And this may seem a bit crazy, but these are legitimate targets, especially in an altcoin market. You can legitimately expect a tremendous rise of great magnitude, which again is common in the end of crypto cycles, especially Bitcoin and especially altcoins. Now let's take a peek at a couple altcoins. We'll go over 3 altcoins here. First one being Cardano. Off our bottom here at 0.22 cents, we have a very beautiful looking classic 5-wave impulse into our wave 1. And an even more beautiful looking move down, tapping the 0.786 Fibonacci level to complete our wave 2. Again, if you look at this scenario, it is tracking total 3 nearly identically, and we are looking for this strong and long wave 3 across the board on Bitcoin, on altcoins. Another strong reason why we are unlikely to see these lows break down is because of time. not only would the count turn into something uncountable, ugly, and something that really does not make much sense, but also in our race against time, we have to finish in October of 2025, right around that time frame. Now these counts make the most sense in my mind. And if we do look at minimum targets for Cardano, you are looking at $2.50 for this wave 3, which you can expect another high to come for the wave 5, most likely taking out the all-time high here at $3.30. Now these are minimum targets. The wave 3 can go much higher, but I would say be conservative in what you are expecting from these coins. Expect at minimum the high to be taken, and at most $5 to $8 on Cardano. Let's take a quick look at GRT. As you can see across the board again, everything is lining up to move up. Now what's different about this coin is instead of a classic 5-wave impulse, we have a double 1-2 scenario building. Now let me just jump over to Solana really quick, and we experienced the same thing on Solana much earlier in the cycle. Here, the very beginning, when Bitcoin was down at 15,000 or so, we experienced one of these 1-2s. A double 1-2, and you saw what was to come for that. Let's jump back to GRT. What are we expecting from GRT here? Much of the same. For this 1-2 here, our minimum extension target is the 1.618 level for our wave 3, which is at $2.20. Again, similarly to Bitcoin, because these wave 2s are long in time, 250 days, and this one being 150 days, we cannot expect the wave 4s to be longer or at parity. We are looking for alternation, potentially very quick, short-lasting wave 4s, and because these wave 2s were deep and sharp, perhaps the wave 4s are sideways and shallow and short. It is the only thing that makes sense, and this is called the rule of alternation in Elliott wave. And you are looking for something like this on the graph. Complete a 5-wave impulse, pull back for your 4, and finish off the cycle in a final 5th. Potentially targets at the highs, $3 to $5 range. And let's take a look at one more coin very briefly. Take a look at helium. Let's go to a different chart. Same thing here, similar to Cardano. Very beautiful 5-wave impulse to create our initial wave 1. Beautiful pullback into our wave 2. Coming down to the 618 level. And what looks to be the start of our wave 3. As with the rest of the market, it really doesn't need to be more complicated than this. The targets are very high on some of these coins with a lot of gains to come, but it is what makes sense. There's nothing else that makes more sense than to expand upward in a vigorous fashion. Thank you for tuning in.